welcome back to 155 books. Today we're doing something a little bit different, even though I say that in every video. I have really been thinking about the kind of content I want to make, why I make content, why I read, why I started my channel, and all of those things. And it's kind of got me to realise that I don't have to follow the norms of BookTube. So we're going to be taking, I say we, I mean me, obviously, a step away from, I think, the generic BookTube videos and just doing whatever I want. Because I can see myself getting caught in this cycle of reading to make videos, if that makes sense. The reason why I originally started my channel, or restarted my channel, was because I love to read. But it's not just that I love to read, it's that when I read a really great book, I want to tell everyone about it. I want to talk about this book non-stop and things like that. And then I got into enjoying making videos, but I think I'm slowly getting into that trap of I'm reading to have content to make for videos. But that's not why I started my channel. I started my channel to talk about the books that I love to read, but it's now gone in the other direction. So I'm just reading to make content, and that's not what I want. I want to enjoy my reading. I want to enjoy what I'm doing. So we're stripping everything back. We're doing different things. And that's why today, rather than a wrap up, I'm going to be talking about my favourite books from March, so my favourite books from last month. So we're in a different location because I wanted to be more casual. I wanted to sit down, I've got a cup of tea, while I just gush over the 3 favourite books I read last month. It might differ monthly. I am also going to mention the other books I read, just the names of them, and one other honourable mention. Because I started my channel to gush over the books I love, we're just going to talk about the favourites today. And yes, this is a lovely cosy blanket. I just wanted to go for the cosy chill vibes. So my first favourite book of the month had to be Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. It's the first book I finished in the month of March, and it was a reread for me, but it was just a fantastic reading experience for me. It reminded me of why I love reading so much, why I love fantasy, and even though it was a reread, I originally read this so long ago, I'd actually forgotten the majority of what happens in it. So it was like reading it for the first time, but just being like vaguely familiar with the characters, and it was so great. And because I was buddy reading this with one of my best friends from uni, it was just so nice because it meant that we were talking almost every day, but rather than like pressuring ourselves into keeping in contact by being like, oh, how are you? What are you up to? When obviously in the current situation, people don't really want to talk about how they're feeling or what they're doing because they've been doing the same thing for the past year. So it was just so nice to be, speaking to Soph every day, but having something to talk about because we'd both read the chapter and we wanted to discuss what had happened or the characters or, just so much juicy stuff happens in this book as well that by the time we'd read like 30 pages, we definitely had something to talk about. And I was enjoying it so much that I would get up early in the morning to read the pages that I needed to read for the day. And it got me out of bed at like 6 o'clock in the morning to be like, yeah, I'm going to get up and have my breakfast and I'm going to read before I start work because I just need to know what's happening in this book. And it was just such a great experience. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I think I'd previously given it 5 stars, but I'd forgotten the reason why I loved this one so much. And it's actually, I think, topped Shadow and Bone for me. I'm not sure because I've just started my reread of Shadow and Bone, but this is a really great book. I think I could at least say that from now on I'll be giving Six of Crows the same amount of justice as Shadow and Bone because previously I wasn't doing that. I also want to talk about the characters quickly because I have always known from the first time I read it that I adore and love Kaz, obviously, Inej, amazing, Jesper and Waylon, love them, Matthias, love him as well. But the first time I read Six of Crows, I wasn't a big Nina fan for some bizarre reason. But rereading this, she's become my favourite character, and I think it's because I was just sleeping on how her character kind of functions, because Nina is definitely one of those characters that follows and makes decisions based on her heart and her feelings and her emotions, and she feels a lot of things, and is quite an emotional character. And I think when the first time I read it, I didn't like that. But this time, I could feel everything she was feeling. I could understand why she was feeling that way. It just made me appreciate her so much as a character, and it gets me so excited because I just need more Nina in my life. My next favourite from March was Mr. Salary by Sally Rooney, which is a short story. It's 33 pages long, and this was gifted to me by the lovely Sophia, who I was buddy reading Six of Crows with, because I made a kind of big life-changing decision in March, and she sent me this and another book to sort of say, I'm proud of you, and I'm just so grateful because, as you all know, I love Sally Rooney, and I hadn't actually read this before, and surprise, surprise, I loved it. So this one follows Suki and Nathan, and there's quite a big age difference between them, but Suki, while she was at university, needed somewhere to live, and I think through family members ended up living with Nathan, and this short story is basically just about their feelings for one another. But you finish this and you just want an entire book on these two characters. You get so much love for them from 33 pages, and I think that just shows how amazing Sally Rooney is as a writer, that in 33 pages she can make you fall in love with these characters and want to know their backstory, what happens from the end of this, how they got to that stage. You just want an entire book on these two characters. She is just so talented. And of course, this short story and reading more of Sally Rooney's work and writing just made me realise how ready I am for a new Sally Rooney book, which is happening later on this year, which I've pre-ordered, obviously. Pre-ordered it from the second it became available to pre-order. I think it's November, so long away, but very excited nonetheless. And I did also give this one 5 out of 5 stars. I also really want these kind of videos to be the kind of video where I also invite you to grab a cup of tea and sit down with me and tell me about your favourite books, even though I can't hear you. So my third and last favourite of the month is going to be a new all-time favourite for me. We all knew this was going to happen with this book. I'm so glad I got round to reading it in the month of March, despite not having plans to, because it blew me away. It was so beautiful. And I am, of course, talking about Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. So I'm going to undress it. That sounds so weird. Because she's so beautiful underneath the hard jacket. The hard jacket? The hard jacket? Is that what they're called? Doesn't sound right. Dust jacket. I knew it wasn't right. I'm making such a faff of this. She's free and so shiny. So there are so many things I want to talk about, and so many things that I loved about this book, but I think the standout thing for me is the writing. The writing was so beautiful. The concept was fantastic. I should probably tell you what this book is about. It follows Shakespeare and his family around the tragic event of the death of their son, but that's all I'm going to say, because it's a lot more than that, and yeah, that's literally all you need to know. It's so much better going into this blind, not knowing a lot, and you come out of reading it just having, I don't know, gotten so much out of it. That's all I can really say. But back onto what I was previously saying about how the writing was beautiful and the concept was great. I loved that Maggie O'Farrell did like alternating chapters from, like, I say differing time periods, but I think it's maybe a period of 10 or so years. So it keeps you reading, it keeps you interested, it's really easy to read. I think myself and a lot of other people have actually thought, because it won the Women's Prize for Fiction, and I can totally see why it did, and that it's like literary fiction, that it's going to be difficult to read, or the language is going to be hard to understand. Not at all. It flows so easily. The whole thing was just so beautiful. Another thing that I want to sort of briefly touch on, that I'm not sure is a spoiler or not, I don't think it is a spoiler, but it's something I thought was really clever, was that Maggie O'Farrell doesn't actually use Shakespeare as his name. Like, the name is never said because it's very clear who he is. You don't have to use the name to show or, get across that this is Shakespeare. You don't have to keep using his name, if that makes sense. So his name actually isn't used in this book at all. So I thought that was really, really clever. It also obviously touches on really difficult topics such as grief, depression is covered, and the way that was covered was fantastic. There's just so many things that happen in this book that were just really well thought out and constructed, and just I can see why it won, like I said, the Women's Prize for Fiction. Also, towards the end, I did think I was getting a little bit bored because I thought it was getting a bit samey, or it was just going to peter out at the end and nothing substantial was going to happen at the end, that it wasn't going to be tied up particularly well. And I was so wrong, because I couldn't stop crying at the end. When I realised how she was going to close off the book, I was crying, I kept crying, I couldn't stop crying. I was emotional for the rest of the day because I finished it early in the morning and I just couldn't stop thinking about it. It's made me feel closer to Shakespeare and his works, which I didn't even think was possible as someone who loves Shakespeare anyway. I just feel like this entire book was written for me, which is ridiculous. But yes, loved it. New all-time favourite. 5 out of 5 stars. Please read this book if you enjoy well-written books. Then this one is for you. I also really want to thank Caris from Caris's Corner for gifting me this for Christmas, and in the video where I unwrap it, I was so excited, and I think this is why I was so excited, because I knew I was gonna love this one, and I do, and it's just so beautiful. So thank you, Caris, for gifting me this lovely book and treasure. So I'm just going to quickly whiz through some of the other books I read this month. I'm not going to go into depth about my thoughts on them, I'm just going to show you what they were and then just talk about one quick honourable mention at the end. But I did also read If They Come For Us by Fatima Ashgar, which is a poetry collection. I did also manage to read Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett, which is a play. And the last book I managed to finish that is going to be my honourable mention for the favourite books of the month. I gave this one 4 stars. I think it's a really important essay collection that people should maybe read to help diversify their feminist reading, which is Girl by Kenya Hunt, and it's essays on black womanhood. There's also some essays in here by other people like Candice Carty-Williams, the author of Queenie. I really enjoyed this essay collection. I didn't give it 5 stars because towards the end some of the essays were overly long and you could tell they were meant to be on one specific topic, but it kept sort of off on a tangent, so then my interest was kind of waning a little bit. That's the only reason why this one didn't get 5 stars, but I loved Kenya Hunt's writing, the topics that were touched upon, like motherhood, her career, because she's high up in the fashion industry. She is Black American and moved to Britain in her, I think, maybe early 20s. So that was also really interesting, seeing both sides of that. So yes, also very much enjoyed this one and would highly recommend it. So that's all I've got for today's video, just me talking about some of my favourite books from the month. I hope you enjoyed this new sort of different format. If you did, I would love to hear your thoughts, as always. I would also love to hear about your favourite book you read in March, so feel free to comment down below, tell me what it was. If you can't be bothered to do that, even just a little emoji would be great. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I will hopefully see you soon in my next video. Bye!